I'm Margaret Ann Windsor, kidnapped in 41 and brought to Moulton, Alabama, given the name of a twin, Peggy Ann Dempsey. I married Childers. I still have to use that name. I found out in late 83, after I was in a political campaign to replace a doctor I had written about in a medical malpractice book, unpublished. They almost killed me. But I was flown out to Mr. Flint's. You usually put Hustler magazine up where he did a endorsement, a good article, and other information, but you can YouTube it and Facebook it. I've been on there for since April or March of 2012, and then 2013. Almost every day, if not every day, 2 or 3 times, telling this. Larry Flint was shot by a program shooter in Lawrenceville, Georgia, while I was doing this book, MD: A License to Kill. Larry McDonald, as I say, was one of the doctors in the cases and murders that happened at the hospital he worked at, Piedmont Hospital, Atlanta. Gene Srokerman was shot on Christmas Eve in the office there of Hardiman, psychiatrist. She was suing a psychiatrist, and she had the same attorney that I had, Eugene Kaiser, a former Atlanta Fulton County District Attorney, who's deceased. A Dr. Jonas Robicher, who was head of law and psychiatry at Emory, had referred her to my attorney, who was filing suit for her when she was killed, I believe, so a deposition had been taken. I mentioned her in the book, The Murders of Warren and Rosina Matthews, who are forensic pathologists at Piedmont Hospital. They were gunned down, and one of the woman that testified was found to be under hypnosis. Well, they've totally rearranged all that since I was there. The Cobb County DA at one point was Buddy Darden, who ran against me in the campaign to replace a doctor, Larry McDonald, I had written about when I was flown out to Flint's the plane went down that he was on August the 31st of 83. The pilot, quite frankly, was programmed, Mindcontrol, to fly into Russian airspace, and Russians shot it down, and 260 plus died, so that they could say Larry McDonald was dead. I understand, I don't know if it's true, but it probably is, that the plane was taken down. He's supposed to be on it, but he wasn't. They took Richard Nixon off at Juneau just before this flight left and was shot down into the ocean. So why didn't they knew it was going down, so did they really have Larry McDonald on there, or did they just say they did? So I want to go back to Emory University. This Dr. Robicher was a very honest person, which is hard to find. And he paid a heavy price for being honest. And I'm so sad. He mentioned my cases, some of them, in the last chapter of his book, The Power of Psychiatry, which I believe was published in 1980. I had never met him, but I did speak later with his nephew, I believe, and his wife, who was given an honorary position there at Emory because of who he is, her husband, and he had died. He'll never be known for the good person and the things that, anyway, he tried to tell, and I tried to tell and did tell, but I almost died and lost everything. I don't know where my children are, if they're alive or dead. Nobody, anyway, what can I say other than this? I was writing about mind control and programming people, like the shooter that shot Larry Flint, and his attorney was killed, and the judge was shot in Lawrenceville, Georgia. Well, I was only about 60 miles away in Marietta when I was doing the book, 76 till April Fool Day of 80, when they really took me out. Instead, I was taken across the state line, and in the condition I was in, and lab results were finally done that showed what they had put in me. Okay? Confirmed it. Oddly enough, my ex-husband or husband, whoever he turns out to be, I thought we were divorced, not divorced. Anyway, he was the one that went in and made him give it to him, and then he gave it to me. I took it to ABC, Sam Donaldson. I took it to the White House. You don't want to take anything to the White House. Ronald Reagan, and that's where, oh God, what's the young man that shot Reagan? I know his name. His parents had just had dinner with the Bushes the night before. And he shot Reagan, and he was programmed to. And he spent his life out at, I think it was St. Elizabeth Mental Institution, till recently, about a year ago, for something he didn't do. He was a puppet. He wasn't mentally ill. So I am telling you again, mental illness is being used. I'm going to start, because I've put all this up over and over. I've been telling it since way back, before 76. I just didn't know the mechanism used in it. They're done in patterns, and they can be proven. So when I started writing the book, I found out how it was being done. And it's mind control and programming. And quite frankly, they put a chip in probably babies when they're born. Why not? I know almost for certain, well, I do know for certain that 2 children, babies, got chipped when they had their tonsils out. Went into the hospital to have their tonsils out. They came out with chips in them. Now, normally you put it in root canals. They are. And that can be proven too. So these patterns were used to prove, because this is invisible mind control. And the thing is that I'm going to stop, because nobody, I was kidnapped. This is all true. I've got birth certificates of the twins where the state of Alabama just marked through it, and they were murdered by their mother, and the family covered it up. After I'd found out so much about being kidnapped, the family finally told the truth. But then they wanted me dead. They tried to find stuff on me. I'm a baby 2 years old that's put down there in a pigsty farm where I'm so abused, and they're trying to find something bad that I did growing up or when I was a baby. This is what has happened in all of it. Nobody wants to pay for their crimes. Now, I don't know anyone that the media, because it's the Illuminati, always knew about my kidnapping and takedown of my father, Edward VIII, who refused to go along with the Illuminati, your mafia, your Freemasons, Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Bilderbergers, the Kennedy clan. JFK's son, JFK helped kidnap me. His father was appointed by President Roosevelt, a Jew, like Rockefeller and Rothschilds, Bilderbergers, as ambassador to England, 36 till 46, and they kicked him out. The point was Joe Kennedy was there and helped take my father down. My father was married to Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, a school teacher from Madison, Wisconsin, who was Queen of England in 1936. She should have always been. So he didn't abdicate. He was forced to. It was lies, and even Cosmos Lang, the Archbishop of Canterbury, was in on it. He knew that my mom and dad were married, and he and Winston Churchill burned the files later, my birth and my father's marriage to my mom, etc., the Windsor files. He consorted with General Eisenhower and Roosevelt. And later, Eisenhower By the way, I'm going to stop here just about because Winston Churchill, The Darkest Hour, that just won the Best Actor, and I don't know, maybe for Best Picture, is a total fabrication and lie, making a devil look like a good man. It's a friggin' lie. So was George VI, who was my father's brother, and he helped kidnap me and helped take down his own brother with lies. He and Elizabeth, the whole family, all of them have known and remain quiet. I have family that were German, and I don't know. Well, let me say this, too, while I'm at it. The United States is going to try to prosecute some Russians for interfering in the election. Can you imagine if the truth is ever told in this mess? And I've told it. Anastasia is my cousin, or second cousin. She's my cousin, just like to Elizabeth, who's done nothing. She was in near Roanoke here in Charlottesville, Virginia, where her husband, Menahan, was professor at the University of Virginia. And I'm going to tell you where they're going with the mental health. Mental health has nothing to do with this. These are programmed people. You have to stop the mind control and programming. They're victims. They're puppets. It could have been you rather than this young fella who has been, he doesn't know that he didn't kill him. Nobody's told him that it was programming and mind control. And if this is ever told, there's no way in bloody hell he could have pulled that. He didn't know the patterns. That will prove it. But hey, these young people that suddenly look like heroes are going and they're blaming Trump and they're going and demanding. You know, I've told it for free. And I've been hated. I've been called names. I've had every lawbroker and vile thing in the book done to me and my family. Nobody wanted to touch it. Well, they're going after, and they're going to tell the truth about what? Mind control? No, they're going to take your guns away. Guns have nothing to do with it. Mind control, and there's lists done at Redstone Arsenal. And I can give you some of them where they were programmed. And believe me, you can be programmed to take your car into the Tennessee River and drown, develop cancer overnight, a rare one, and die, and take a rifle and blow your brains out in the bathtub. Bonnie Saylor came to me when I worked at the district attorney's office in '80 in the condition I was in. And she begged me, she says, nobody will help me, but somebody told me where you were, and can you help me? Well, God, I thought, lady, you don't know what's been done to me. But they were put under investigation. 3 months later, all three of them were dead. They had top security clearances. So what's going on, the mechanism and the weapon, is mind control. It's done at a low level. When I was shown how it was done back in '76, when I was doing the book, they had a ham set, and it was set up right to the apartment next to mine at Treetop. And he told me, well, I had worked for Curl Wholesale Company when I got out of school in Huntsville. So they had electronics. I did the books and everything, but I knew nothing of any of this. But he showed me, he said it's done at a low level, and I know that now, and did later, researching it. It's done at a low level, and if you want to Google Hamset, you can Google it, because they didn't have all this other. You start talking about satellites, or, well, they're going to come out and handcuff you, and that's where it's gone with this, to shut you up. They'll haul your ass off for 72 hours. Anybody can say you've acted erratic, but the time they're through with you after you've been locked up, and they might decide, well, maybe we should keep them a little longer. You're putting your hands in people that you think are godlike or something. They're just people like you, and people commit crimes. And believe me, this is just a license to kill. And Anastasia, that happened to her. And I'm going to go ahead and say it. It was Attorney Preston. Isn't that a cute name when you get in all this? And he was next door in Charlottesville to what was Larry Flint's wife's name, Althea. This woman's name Althea, that helped in all this mess that happened. She tried to take everything, and that was Anna. And part of the royal family was over here after she was killed. Her husband drove his car into the Blue Ridge Mental Health trying to get her out. He's a professor, and he can't do anything. This Preston, God help me, I better lock my doors if that'll do any good. Attorney Preston didn't even know her, had no reason. He just signed the warrant, and they hauled Anastasia and they killed her. And then they tried to change that she died when I was in Larry Flint's car. He had leased for me, and I haven't seen him since. I was going through Charlottesville. I just found out, and I knew she was a cousin of mine, but I wish I could have met her. And by the way, she lived in Scottsville outside, so you're using, it gets really kind of weird, like back when did this all start? But anyway, on May the 6th or 4th of 84, I was driving through Charlottesville. I had the radio on, and they told about Anastasia being killed. And moving her from, well, that didn't happen. They killed her, and it was Anna, and her body was burned. And anyway, the family, there were pieces. Well, anyway, I'm going to quit because this is going to go off, and I don't think anybody has listened to it. Some people are nice. Facebook, I don't think it's done a bit of good there. And suddenly you got these people from Parkland, which is JFK, that helped kidnap me, etc., etc. Parkland is where Gonzalez, this doctor I've told you so much about over the years, he was interning when Kennedy was brought in there. Kennedy helped kidnap me. Gonzalez gets into this hell that was done to me, and he's in Atlanta at Parkwood, and they're a big conglomerate, mental health facilities. Behavioral modification, what do you think mind control is? Only you don't know you're getting it. It's done at such a high level that of hearing, or low level, should I say. A dog, if you want to make an example, a dog can have a whistle blown. It can hear it, but you can't. Okay, this is what's going on here. Edward Snowden, I don't know if he got into totally on that or just touched on it. He's over in Russia. You don't ever hear from him. He's exiled. Now then, if you want to talk about governments ruining your election and you're charging Russians, maybe you better think about who you got sitting here telling you this. And just in case I'm lucky somebody is prosecuted, you kidnapped the monarch. You took down my father, the monarch. You went and invaded Great Britain under the text of saving us. And Anastasia, the Romanovs, I'll tell you who killed them. They're Russian. I tell you who killed the family. I tell you who killed her up here also, other than the attorney, was Woody Woodrow Wilson, your president. And he was from a town nearby Charlottesville, Virginia. So all these kids that are going up and telling to take down the guns, look what happened to them at Parkland in the school. They better research their information a little more, because that ain't going to stop it, taking down your guns. You got to tell the truth, which nobody's been able to do yet.